passion, talent, influence.
That's what we're here to recognize.
A movement that lives right in our own backyard.
Southwest Florida.
So put your glasses up.
Let's give a toast.
Toast to the innovators.
Toast to the creators.
Toast to the go-getters.
The people who wake up every day with a passion to create.
Not for themselves, but for the benefit of the community.
A community that has no limits.
So let's kick back
and toast
to the Goodfellas.
Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Southwest Florida, and those listening around the nation. It's your boy, Alan.
And it's your boy, Nicholas. I was a little late there.
Yeah, bro, for a second I thought the screen froze or something, bro.
Nah, bro, it was just me.
I was going to end the meeting, go back, and
it was just me, bro.
What it do, bro? What it do?
Nah, man, just trying to, stay safe in these streets.
Yo, but
the virus sounds like a gang.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty stagnant right now. Well, no, it's not stagnant. I mean it's still increasing in numbers, but I mean you figured that that's gonna happen with this type of disease. You know how if it spreads so easily like that. So I mean, opening up the country and everything like that, it's just gonna be. I mean, I don't know. I mean, no one knows what to do, bro. Not even the government. So we just gotta like do our best to kind of make the best out of any situation,
Facts.
But yeah, man.
You seen the show Jimmy Neutron when you were growing up?
Of course.
Remember when they go to space and they find these rubies and he's like, Ruby Madness. Remember that?
Yeah,
Probably
I
don't,
remember that.
But that's how I feel this coronavirus is making everybody go insane at home. It's like Corona Madness. So I've been saying that shit all week. Corona Madness. All week.
I like
it's annoying everybody.
I like Jimmy Neutron. Jimmy Neutron was dope. My favorite was probably SpongeBob. I like the Fairly Odd Parents.
Those are classics, bro. Classics. But anyway, let's get into our guest because she's patiently waiting to be introduced, and we have a great one.
Yeah, man. She's gonna put us like in a virtual headlock if we don't introduce her.
She's gonna cause me to glitch.
This is number 15. Who we got, Nick? Who we got?
So we want to welcome TaylorcGrant. She's a fellow FGCU alumni and the author of the book, The Birthing of a Promise, an Appointed Kairos Moment. And I probably butchered that, but she will definitely correct me. How you doing, Taylor?
I'm awesome. I'm great. Thank you for introducing me. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm excited to be here. And you actually didn't butcher it. Some people say Kairos, some people say Kairos. But yeah, you didn't butcher it.
I just pronounced it as Kai because Dragon Ball Z taught me better than that.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people say Kairos, some people say Kairos, but it's just a word that means like it's an appointed time for something, like when something is specifically supposed to happen.
Okay. So last time we talked, you were doing your master's program at FGCU. You graduated, correct?
I did, yeah. I graduated in May of 2019. I did my master's in social work, so I'm in the field of social work now.
How do you like that field specifically? Do you feel like it's everything you could dream of and more?
I love it, honestly. I didn't think that I would be in this field because I started off, I did my undergrad in psychology. So I didn't really know that I would be doing this field. But I felt like it found me instead of me finding it. Like it just definitely found me. And so once I actually got into it, it became something that I definitely loved and just kind of grew on me.
It's crazy how that works. Yeah. No, I was gonna say it's crazy how that works, right? Because I graduated with my degree in finance. And currently I work right now. Well, I work within finance, but I don't work in finance. I work within like HR, but it's crazy how stuff comes to you, like how the podcast came to Nick and I.
Yeah.
I'll just literally just living life, like
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
nothing that I searched for in this. Like I had no idea. If you would have asked me like even a year ago
Mhm.
today, like I'd be
Mhm.
sitting down here with you, I'd be like, what? I'd be dazed and confused, like a deer in the headlights.
Mhm. And I think honestly that's like the best part too, is just like when things just, you kind of just follow along the path that you're supposed to be on. Like I think that's like the best part. And then it's almost as if like, how did I get here? But honestly, like you were meant to be here. So I think that's the great part about it.
Sure. So Taylor, where are you from originally?
I'm originally I was born in Miami, Florida. I grew up in Broward, in like the Hollywood area.
Mm-hmm.
Went to middle and high school in Broward, and then I moved to Fort Myers after high school, and have kind of been up here ever since.
Mm-hmm.
You love it here. I can tell you love it by the way you said it. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
you're
I'm still
excited.
here,
You're
so
excited.
I'm still here. So there's something that I like about it. Definitely, yeah. It's a little bit different than like on the East Coast, a little bit more slower pace, but I enjoy it. I just didn't think that I would still be here for as long as I was, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm still here. But I like it.
What's a place that
I
you
feel
would
like
probably
Fort
go to?
Myers. Go ahead.
What's a place
What
you would
happened?
go to? What's a place that you would go to if you would ever move out of here?
You know what? I would say Georgia. I think Georgia is like the perfect place because it's not, first of all, it's not too hot, it's not too cold, I'm not really a fan of like snow or anything like that. And Georgia's popping, like as
It
far
is
as like
popping.
entrepreneurship wise, as far as like spiritually, like there's just so much going on in Georgia. I just feel like it's just like a rich place to be. So probably Georgia.
So I'd assume that's Atlanta, right?
Um, yeah, or maybe like on the outskirts of like Atlanta
Okay.
somewhere. Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, makes
Hmm.
sense. Makes sense. Yeah. I know Georgia's really good too. I like real
Hmm.
estate too. So like the real estate
Hmm.
market in Georgia is really, really good. So I've been
Hmm.
curious about it as well. But that's I like
Yeah,
that. That's a good destination for
definitely.
sure.
Hmm.
I was only able to drive through Georgia and through Atlanta, but I didn't really get to stay there and soak it in. But
Hmm.
everything I hear about Atlanta and Georgia are just nothing but good things. They got
Yeah.
their countryside, and they got their city side, and then they got the
Hmm.
suburbs. So it's
Hmm.
basically the same as
So you
like
Yeah.
mentioned entrepreneurship and that
Hmm.
how it's thriving out there. So tell
Yeah.
everybody like kind of like what you're doing now, and because you really have a really cool story that that we want to know
Mhm.
about as well, and want our
Hmm.
viewers to know about. So I was wondering if you could just tell them a little bit about yourself and like what you're doing right
Hmm.
now.
Yeah. Okay. So, like I said, I started out at FGCU, graduated with my bachelor's in 2013 in psychology, and then I went for my master's in social work, graduated in 2017. I'm sorry, in 2019. And during that time, I kind of feel like I was kind of drawn a little bit more into the entrepreneurial side of different things, and so I do quite a few things. I have I'll just start with this. Like my goal in everything that I do is to encourage and motivate people to one, become the best versions of themselves that they can be. I would consider myself a person who just definitely, I'm always trying to better myself, and I just strive to help people better themselves. And so that's just like my overall goal. So in everything, whether it's through my YouTube channel, whether it's through social media, whether it's through writing and different things, my goal is just to empower and encourage people to just be the best people that they can, be in life. And so I recently started a YouTube channel. So I started that probably about the same time that I started writing my book. I'm uh, what do they call it? I don't even know. This all these fancy names. Okay, I published a book, and they call it like first time author. Okay, whatever. Okay, yeah, I published a book, and so around that same time, that was when I kind of like started my YouTube channel. I would consider myself an entrepreneur as well. I have a consulting business called LEAP, which stands for the Life Enrichment and Empowerment Program. And what I do is I host different workshops in different places, whether it's like in different organizations. I recently put on a workshop for teens on teen depression and really just educating them on like what it is, how to cope with it, knowing the triggers, and how to treat it. So I just kind of do like different workshops and stuff, whether I'm educating people on spiritual topics within the Christian community, or whether I'm educating people on mental health, you know, how to better themselves mentally, emotionally, psychologically. I just believe in wellness, like from a holistic standpoint, especially from, you know, just from all sides. So that's a little bit about just what I do.
And you also mentioned that you're a therapist.
Yeah, yes. So with my background in social work, it allowed me to become a clinical social worker, which allows me to be a therapist. And so I work with my background, I've worked with primarily with children in the child welfare system, children who are in the foster care system. And so the population that I primarily work with are children and teens who are who have been, you know, removed from their homes, and who are in the, like, who have been adopted or in foster care and things like that. I work with other clients too, but primarily that population.
How have you had any like big challenges within those roles that you could speak on? Like, for example, like I know Alan, he dabbles in entrepreneurship, and I'm sure you've taken a bunch of classes in it as well, and during your finance degree. But a lot of challenges that entrepreneurs get is basically getting over that hump of, you know, finding exactly what they want to do, and then, you know, just going for it. What kind of motivated you to just go for it?
Honestly, there's a lot of different challenges within entrepreneurship, but I think that once people get going, once people take that initial step and they get their foot like in the ground, it's so much easier to run with it. So I think that the biggest challenge for me was fear. Honestly, I think that entrepreneurship is mostly a psychological thing, more than anything. And I think that if you can prepare yourself mentally, then you can do what you need to do in order. Everything else is going to kind of fall in place. And so I think that the biggest challenge for me was fear, honestly, because it's almost like I had these different ideas for years, like just years. And I never really felt confident enough to kind of like step out and do them. But once I actually got the confidence to do it, it was so much easier, you know? So I think one of the biggest challenges, like if you can overcome the fear to step out and do whatever God is telling you to do, not doubt yourself, not doubt God, then you've already took the first step. Honestly, that's the biggest, most important step, because everything else will fall into place. Like whether that's the finances, whether that is the resources, like God will send people alongside of you to help you. Don't worry about, okay, how am I going to get the money for this? No, if God is calling you to do something, like he'll give you the money, he'll give you the resources to get started. You know, he'll send the people that you need to partner with to, you know, get the job done. But essentially, I think the biggest challenge is like, just for me personally, and I think honestly for a lot of people, is just self-doubt. It's the feeling of like, okay, am I qualified to do this? Am I qualified to start this business? Am I qualified to write this book? Am I qualified to, you know, create this podcast? Am I qualified to go out and talk to this group of these people or these children? It's like that different thing. And I think, like I said, once you overcome that fear, that initial self-doubt, then honestly, you're going to take off.
I heard you say, you mentioned God a lot. So I assume that would you consider yourself a diehard Christian or woman of faith?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say I'm a Christian, a follower of Jesus Christ, and my faith has definitely played a big role in who I am. I grew up a Christian, and it's just who I am. It's just a part of me. One of my strongest values and one of my strongest belief systems, because apart from, like, God is in me, and I'm, you know, he's a part of me. So if you take out God, it's just like there's no Taylor. Like, I take it very, very, you know, seriously. So I'm very, it's something that I'm very, very passionate about.
Got it. Gotcha.
In terms of your new book, The Birthing of a Promise, what kind of motivated you to start writing and create this book?
Oh man, it was a process. It was a process. It started when I knew that I needed to, okay, well, I think, like I said, being the spiritual person that I am, God will talks to people in different ways. in different ways that they know how to hear and ways that they know how to respond. And so I would say back in 2016, God had begun, just talking to me about writing a book and different things like that. But again, I was still kind of stuck in like, just fear and not really knowing. So fast forward to 2019, honestly, it got to the point where I just couldn't put it off anymore, pretty much. It got to the point where I don't know how to explain it. Like, when you're driving in a car and, it's time to change your tires, and if you keep on driving, they're going to pop. That's literally how I felt. Like, I felt like when God is telling you to do something, and if you continue to avoid it, it's like, it just feels like it's weighty. It's really, really heavy on you. And so it got to the point where I couldn't handle the weight anymore, because when I go to sleep, I'm just like, I hear God saying, you need to do this, you need to do this. When I wake up, I'm going to work every day, and God is saying, you need to do this, you need to do this, And so it was just like a nonstop, a never ending, I don't know what you would call it. It's just like an unction, I guess, for when God tells you to do something. It's just really, really weighty. And so that's how I actually ended up doing it. Was not only that, but I started to understand the seriousness of doing it, and the importance of doing it, because whenever God is telling you to do something, like, it's not just for you, there's someone else on the other side that needs your encouragement, that needs to hear your story, or that needs whatever it is that you have. And so it kind of just got to the point where I was like, okay, God, like, what do I write about? And it kind of was an obvious answer, because I love to encourage people. So the book is, and I have it here with me, it's just kind of like a 30-day devotional, and then it also has like different reflection questions as well for people to kind of go through. And so I was like, okay, a devotional book seems like kind of like the most obvious thing to do, because like I said, I love to encourage people, but I definitely like to encourage people from my own experiences that I've overcome, because that's how people will connect with you the most. You can't really encourage people from a place that you don't even know, like, so you connect with people from your own authenticity. So that was did I answer your question? Because I just kind of felt like I was just talking.
No, that was very clear. So
Okay.
so how would that really apply to somebody right now dealing with the craziness of the coronavirus right now in today's day and age? How would you approach somebody like that? How do they deal with craziness?
What do you mean exactly? I want to make sure I understand your question.
So basically, if with all this going around, like with the media just not promoting, but like the facts show that a lot of people have died from coronavirus and have been affected from coronavirus, so it's adding a lot of stress to people. It's unmotivating people. It's people are losing jobs. There's the unemployment rate in the United States has been at an all-time high. So how does somebody cope with that? What advice would you give them? How would you go and like tell them to have more faith in God, and even if they're not Christian, they're not really a Christian, you know what I mean?
Okay. And are you talking about like on the entrepreneurial side of things, or just in general, just from a general sense?
Really both.
Both. I guess I'll start off from more of like the entrepreneurial side. Is that I guess this is a time where a lot of people, I guess with everything kind of just being still, and people being, kind of like still and not moving and going here and there. I think this would be a perfect time for anyone to, do whatever it is that God has called them to do, because people now have, I guess, God has kind of made it so that people have, some of their time is like more freed up. And so people have more time to write a business plan. People have more time to, just do those things that they want to do. And so this is definitely a time that I feel like to take advantage. And I could even encourage someone that maybe they lost a job or something. Maybe you lost a job, but maybe God also told you to start a business. Like, this could be the time where you're not depending on your job so much for that financial stability. Remember that God is your source and God is your provider. And as you move forward, he'll continue to provide. So maybe God has you right in that place where he wants you, so that you can do what he wants you to do. As far as general encouragement, for anyone who is just really anxious or fearful about the coronavirus, I would just continue to say, that's a tough one. I think I'll start with practical. Practical advice is to continue to follow the guidelines that the government has put in place. So whether that is social distancing, whether that is, not gathering around certain people, and, continue to do that. Another thing is, as a believer, I think to try to not, I have different advice from different standpoints, I guess. I'll go with the spiritual part, but the spiritual is to try to not allow fear to grip you. Try to not allow fear to paralyze you, or anxiety or anything to paralyze you, but just to continue to believe and trust God that He is in control of the situation. We don't know what will happen, but listen, like, God will provide whatever resource that you need. As far as, health and everything like that, continue to just trust and believe God, and know that He's not far away from the situation. He knows exactly what is happening. As far as like a mental and psychological advice I would give is that, listen, if this pandemic has really caused you to be in a place of whether that's frustration, increased anxiety, increased depression from just like being home all the time, you're losing your social context, I would say this could be a time to seek mental attention, seek psychological attention, because reach out to, maybe this could be a time where you're able to start counseling. There's a lot of different organizations that are still practicing, and they're still practicing over, like digital formats. And so that kind of would be my advice.
Mm-hmm. So I think you hit like every part of that question, and that's awesome. Like the practicality of it, as well as, just the general sense. Cause I know there's a lot of people who would be, damn, I just lost my job. I don't know what to do as a source of income. And then they would just freak out for like weeks instead of, trying to take a deep breath and like focus on a game plan and look at the positive things. And you mentioned that you have reflection questions built into your book. I'm assuming that these reflection questions, they are, tied in with, positivity to help you kind of look at the positive side of things, as well as, the actual practical things that are going on right now. Am I right?
Yeah, well, the reflection questions more so help the reader to like practically apply the devotion. So when reading the book, I don't just want people to like read it, okay, read it, done, check, let me go about my day. But I want people to like really dig into what was written and really sit and meditate on it and think about it and connect this to their life, and really ask themselves like, hey, how can I apply this? What did this message, speak to me?
That's an interesting format, especially for, a book, because most people, when they want to go, buy a book, they just want to read it and, get it over with, get the information and get it over with. With this one, you kind of have to, like work through it. You can't just read it like you were saying before. And that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's not your typical Curious George or
or
like
Clifford
Thomas
the Dog,
Train,
or
Clifford
like
the
that.
Big Red Dog. You're not gonna get any of that with Taylor. She's gonna set you straight. Okay.
Yeah. I think it just comes from, like I said, there's so many different facets of me, like from the spiritual side to also the therapeutic side. So me, like, I'm naturally a reflective person, and I naturally, like I said, I motivate myself to be better in different areas. And because I motivate myself, I also motivate others to be their best. And so you can't have one without the other. Like, how would I look if I'm trying to motivate people to be their best and I'm not doing that within myself? And so it comes natural. I guess maybe it could be the therapeutic side of me, that I'm always digging deeper. I'm always trying to reflect. I'm always trying to ask myself, okay, how can I be better? How can I be a better person, not just for myself, but for the people that are around me? And so I think that's kind of where the reflection questions came in, because I really want people to dig deep and look within the side of themselves and say, hey, how can I really become the person that God wants me to be?
And I feel like a lot of people in Southwest Florida, at least, they can definitely use that, that advice and that ability to, work through those reflection questions, because I feel like this particular area is rich with a lot of people who want to do, good things, that want to create. And they just may be stuck, or maybe they might be scared, or maybe don't have that much faith in themselves at the moment. And I feel like having a tool like your book would definitely allow somebody to be able to really ask themselves and dig deeper, maybe apply their faith a little bit more. Alan, you want to say
Yeah,
something?
Yeah,
definitely.
I wanted to ask a question. I'm sure since you went to FGCU and you've been
Mm-hmm.
around the area for a long time, I'm sure you know about the street preacher. The street preacher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what do you think about the street preacher?
Hmm. um, what do I think about it? That's a good question. Uh, let me gather my thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, it's. I could tell you. I could just so you could think about it. Let me just give you
Yeah.
my opinion on it. I feel
Yes.
like
Yes.
this guy. I personally think, just straight up, I think he's a jackass. I think he's a
Mm-hmm.
jackass, to be honest. Because
Mm-hmm.
how are you gonna preach about God when you are
Mm.
just like demeaning people and just really like
Mm.
criticizing and you know, yeah, just criticizing people and talking negatively about them,
Mm-hmm.
like that's, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure God doesn't want that, right? So for him to be
Mm.
in a freaking bullhorn yelling all these things, I feel is just blasphemy. So but
Mm.
then again, he can have like a mental, I understand he can be like have a mental issue, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I don't agree with anything this man has to say. And if
Mm-hmm.
he's coming off that way, I feel like tone matters as well. I think the way you say something really impacts how somebody takes it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so because maybe his message can be delivered a lot better if you didn't have a bullhorn or if he wasn't yelling or saying
Mm-hmm.
crazy shit about people. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the fact that he does, is just a little it's a little crazy in my opinion. And
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I just want your point of view on it.
Hmm. I think I guess as you were talking, I think I don't know, I just feel like it's important for people to get to know God for themselves, to understand God for themselves. And I guess I say that because hmm, I don't know. This is a really hard question because I guess for me, I don't really want to say that someone is right or that someone is wrong for it. I just think that it's important to know God for yourself and to know like how God feels about certain things and what he wants more than anything. I don't know. I don't think I guess to answer your question, I don't really feel that it's my place to point and put an opinion on anyone and say, hey, what you're doing is wrong or what you're doing is right.
That's
I
fair.
guess
That's
that's
fair.
I guess that's how I feel, and I
That's fair.
don't I don't really have an opinion, honestly, if I can be
I I
honest.
I need to do better. I need to be like you, where I just
I
don't
I just
don't
don't.
talk bad
Yeah.
about him.
I
I
don't
would
have an
just I
opinion.
would walk right by him, ignore him because I know that it's
hmm
not affecting
Yeah,
me
I don't say
personally.
anything. I don't say anything to him.
hmm
I'm just
I
whatever. But
I guess I will say this though. If anyone hears this, what I will say, if anybody has found themselves ever offended by anything that, and this is not even him, this is just by anything that anyone has done, then it's our job individually to go to that person to talk, to try to, and that might be a big stretch because you might feel like, hey, I don't even know this person, and
Hmm.
but I think obviously in that context, someone would be open to having a conversation, especially if they're, trying to, if they're giving you their thoughts on something. And so I think in everything, the most important thing is if you feel that maybe someone has offended you on certain things, to really just respond in love and to, talk with that person. I want to stray away from saying, you know what, that's absolutely wrong or that's absolutely right. I honestly just, I don't have an opinion on it because like honestly, like I guess I'm the type of person, like if I feel a certain type of way, I don't mind. I love learning and I love just
yeah,
So Taylor, I know with your new book out, Southwest Florida is a community that is willing to support your book because I know
Mhm.
everything people do here in this community, like it's like ride or die type of people. Everybody want to
Yeah.
support one another, and that's why I wanted to reach out to you and see if we can get you on here because
hmm
I really think that this book is a big deal because I don't know anybody
Definitely.
around like our age that's writing books right now, at least in this
Yeah.
area. Do you, Alan?
hmm
no. I mean, I listen to and I read books, but I'm not writing it. I wouldn't even know how to go about writing a
Exactly.
book. Honestly, like,
hmm
I want to know. Actually want to know actually the process of like writing
Exactly,
the
me
book
too.
because
Mhm.
I feel like somebody doesn't go and sit down and write or just type away. They gotta have like a team, but I'm not sure. I don't know.
They do. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a whole process. For sure.
So
Mhm.
how did you go
So
about it?
Yeah, go on.
Oh, how did I go about it?
Yeah, what is the process in writing a book?
The process that I am familiar with, the process that I took, I know that there's different ones, but the process that I took was first you have to make sure that the manuscript is completely written. And then once it's written, you have to find a publishing company. This is if you want to go the publishing company route. That's the route that I did just because since it was my first book, I didn't want any mistakes for errors. And so I really wanted to work with a professional team who knew exactly what they were doing in order to get the book out. I know some people choose to go the route of like self-publishing. But once you write your manuscript, you write whatever it is that the document, the book essentially. And then you find your publishing company. So I found one publishing company they're called Lincross Publishing, and they're I don't know their names. It's a couple called Heather. Their names are Heather Lindsay and Cornelius Lindsay, and I went through them. They're a Christian publishing company, but I don't know as far as like what kind of books they publish. I can't say they only publish Christian. I don't know. I think whoever you would have to kind of do more research on what kind of books they publish, but pretty much their team handled everything for me. I paid them and they got everything out. So that was like a lot of stress off of me. And so there are pros and cons. You definitely have to figure out what is going to work with you. Like, are you looking to save money? Then maybe self-publishing might be a better choice. But then again, who knows? You kind of just have to do your research and do your math to see what's going to be a cheaper route. So what I did was I sent them the manuscript, and from there they partnered me with a consultant. And that consultant, I had talked to them. They're based out of Georgia too. And so my consultant stayed in contact with me. You know, we talked regularly, and through each step, he kind of asked me different questions like, how do you want your book cover to be? How do you want it to be designed? How do you want the formatting to be like on the inside of the book? Then they send it off to an editor, and they have an editor who looks through the book. Then they send it back to you, and then you have to look through to make sure you want to accept the edits or make any additional edits. And pretty much that process can go on. It can vary. It depends on, you know, how much you want to edit your book. So if your book is already good to go, then, you know, it'll be pretty quick. It was a fairly quick process. So I started writing in November, and I sent it in November. You have to call them, and then you have to set up, like, I guess, put in an application and everything, but I don't think that they'll start working with you until the book is actually finished. And from the time that I think it took maybe about like 3 months or so for them to publish it. It was really, really quick. Cool. And honestly, they work as fast as you work. So I wanted the book to be published on my birthday, which is February 27th. However, we had some technical difficulties, or not technical difficulties, but we just kind of had some difficulties. And so the actual book was finalized as of like March. And so, yeah, like I said, they do everything from like the editing, from the designing, they do marketing. They even have it to where you talk with Heather Lindsay or Cornelius Lindsay. But it just depends on what package you select. Yeah, that's pretty much the process. Oh, and then they get it copyrighted, help you get it copyrighted. So they do all of that for you.
How much does it cost total?
Ooh.
The book or the process?
Ooh, I was like, damn.
The process was it wasn't a cheap process. I'm going to be honest with you. It wasn't cheap. But I guess I'm a firm believer. Yourself, though. Thank you. I'm a firm believer in like you pay for what you get. So thank you, Manny. Like that's how I am. So I'm like, listen, if I don't want nothing cheap, I'm not going to get nothing cheap. If I want it to be good, you pay for what you get.
All the time.
My tip is because that's real. Like that's real. Exactly, and that's
I've learned my lesson throughout the years. I've been always cheap, but I've learned to say frugal now, because I've heard cheap is kind of like ugly to say, but I've learned that when you spend top dollar for something, you're gonna get something.
You get what you pay for.
Exactly, something you pay for. That's why being healthy is so expensive. being unhealthy is
exactly.
so cheap, you know.
You
And
pay for what you
It-
get. I would
yeah.
I would say go ahead.
It just reminded me of a situation like my mom had posted something on Facebook about how she bought something on like off a Wish, and it was like really like it was like a really cheap item, and it like broke
Hmm.
within a few days, and I was like,
Yeah.
Mom, this is exactly what happens when you go
Hmm.
to Wish to buy something. There's
Hmm.
not really anything there that you can verify you're gonna get something of good quality.
Right. Right. So that's just what it comes down to. Like you pay for what you get, and honestly, I would just say stay within your means. You know, like I was
Mhm.
able to stay within my means at least, but you know, you could always go the self-publishing route, and I don't know how much that would be. I kind of feel like that's still expensive. Either way it goes, listen, to make money you have to spend money. So
Yeah.
that's just kind of how it is. So it
eh,
was a good
kind of,
investment
yeah,
nonetheless.
I mean, investing in stocks, you have to spend
Investing,
money to make money.
yeah,
right? You
yeah,
have
yeah.
to
It
spend money to make
depending on
money.
what it is, yeah.
Yeah. So I would just say anybody who is like interested in being a who's interested in being an author, just start saving money now, because at the end of the day, even if you go self-publishing or if you go through a publishing company, you're going to have to pay. That's how you get a book published.
Mhm.
And then if you have any questions, honestly, like I'm open to answering, you know, questions. Like you can always message me on like Facebook or Instagram or however. And then if you have any questions, just let me know. Like I'll definitely
Mhm.
would love to help anyone who wants to write a book, you know.
Mhm. So, if you could just describe your book in maybe one or two sentences of what exactly it is and how the people of Southwest Florida and United States, everybody around the world, could benefit from this book.
Hmm. Okay. In two sentences.
It could be more than
I'm real
that, but
literal. Okay.
something concise.
Something concise. Okay, I'm real literal. So when you say two sentences, I'm like, okay, two sentences, no more than that, no
I feel
It's
less.
you.
gonna be two
Uh,
paragraphs from Taylor. It's gonna be
yeah,
two
yeah.
paragraphs,
It
really.
needs to be an MLA format, please.
It's a run-on sentence. A
Oh
run-on
gosh,
sentence.
y'all need
Too
references
many
too.
commas.
Um, it's just really about there's three different themes. The first theme is that when God promises something to you, that's why it's called the birthing of a promise, because like God told me a while back that I would publish a book. But I didn't, not that I didn't believe it, but I was just like, okay, God, when is it going to happen? And so just know that when God promises, gives you a promise, when God tells you that he's going to do something, like he will do it at the perfect time. Hence why I said, you know, a Kairos moment, because it's an appointed time for something to take place. But at the same time with that, I thought that I was waiting on God, but God was waiting on me, you know, and I'm like, okay, God, when am I going to be out there? Hello, when you start writing, like, you know, it's just that simple. It's just that
Yeah.
simple. And so like, that's one thing. It's just like if God has promised you something, if he's promised, hey, listen, man, you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to be a millionaire, you're going to have this amount of companies, or you know, whatever he promises, believe him. I've been listening to this song called Man of Your Word, and it's by Maverick City, and it talks about how God is a man of his word. Like if he says he's going to do something, he is going to do it, but not 9 times out of 10 he's waiting on you to move so that he can do it. The second theme of the book is that to just encourage young entrepreneurs. I know that we have a lot of entrepreneurs in South Florida. Whatever God is encouraging you to do, to step out on faith and do it, to let go of fear, let go of self-doubt, let go of fear of not being good enough, let go of fear of not knowing how to do it, whatever excuse it is, like just step out and do it. And when you do it, you'll see results. And then the third theme is it just has general encouragement, just general encouragement of how to live a Christ-centered life. So I included a lot of different things that I have overcome through my spiritual walk. For example, like just managing your emotions, different things from, you know, I talked a little bit about, you know, just working on your character, being a person of character and a person of integrity. I talked a lot about just different things that I may have encountered through my life and how God has really helped me through it. So those are like the three things that you can find within the book in and of itself.
Is
That's
that
all.
what you talk about in the book is what you talk about also in your YouTube in your YouTube page?
What was your
Like
question?
those topics that you covered about the book, is that what really your YouTube page is mainly about as well?
Not necessarily. My YouTube page is like primarily just to give people just to help build people spiritually, from a mentally, emotionally, psychologically. I just started my channel, so right now I've gone through a series, a 7-part series. I'm getting ready to upload part 7, but I've gone through a series on just self-love and self-confidence and what it means to like really love yourself and seeing yourself how God sees you. And it's not just for women, you know, confidence and self-esteem, that's for men too. So it's a full, you know, full on type thing.
No, that's dope. That's dope. Like I really like what you do. I just finished this book on. I don't know if you follow Charlemagne the God,
Oh no,
but
never heard of him.
he wrote a book. It's called Anxiety Playing Tricks on Me, and in his book he talks about the importance of therapy and some stereotypes of certain races and certain ethnicities that don't want to go and get therapy because they're so prideful about their culture and all that, and they're scared about how people look at them.
Yeah,
So
that's big.
Yeah.
Charlemagne the God, by the way, he's on the Breakfast Club. So now you know.
I've never heard of him, but that is so true. There is a lot of stigma within. I can definitely speak within like the African American culture. I'm Black, and there is. I guess you can say pride. I don't know if it's pride or maybe it can be like ignorance of like not knowing, but just a stigma of like culturally, like Black people have this. We pride ourselves in just being like strong, you know. We pride ourselves in being like, you know, tough. Also, we don't like people in our business, you know. And so when it comes down to having to, you know, thinking about talking to someone, it's almost like taboo. It's like, okay, what are they going to do for me that I can't do for myself? Like, I'd rather just, or some people even think like, hey, I'm just going to go pray about it. And that's why I love that I'm a Christian and I'm a therapist, because I don't think that they're separate from each other. I think that you can definitely pray about it, but there's going to be a time where you need to, you know, go to therapy as well. So
yeah, Hispanics are a lot like that too. Like they're just like, oh no, therapy. What do you mean? You know, like go drink water, go freaking sing.
Yeah,
this
you go
like,
put some Vicks on it.
Yeah, go put some Vaporub, like right here, like that's how Hispanics are. Like, hey, relax, you know, like we need therapy and all that. But I think we got to break those. Me personally, I think you got to break those stereotypes about. I don't think tradition is all that great, you know, because it creates barriers amongst yourself. Sometimes you got to break out of that shell and be like, you know what? Okay, I do need help. I do need to go talk to a therapist, you know, and like, who cares what other people think?
Right.
Yeah, in today's day and age, I understand that there's a lot of social media that's how that kind of impacts people's decision, and they're scared how people are going to look at them. But at the end of the day, man, no one cares about you than yourself. You know, you got to help yourself out, and it starts with the mentality, which
definitely
you preach very well. Yep.
Definitely, yeah.
So Taylor, I know that you listened to some of our episodes here, so you're familiar with the tradition that we have here. Speaking of traditions, for our guests, every time at the end of our episode, we want our guests to give a toast to Southwest Florida. So we're going to ask you for the same thing. Are you ready for that question?
Yes.
All right. So if you can give a toast to Southwest Florida, what would you like your toast to be?
I would give a toast to the entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, but I really want to give a toast to those who are entrepreneurs, but they just don't know it yet, or entrepreneurs who don't know they might not be there yet. And I'm toasting to you because I believe in you. And I believe that once you take that step, once you let go of fear, once you let go of self-doubt, once you stop questioning if you're good enough, once you stop questioning, if you're right for the job, once you just really stop doubting, I'm toasting to you because I believe that on the other side, you're going to be victorious and you're going to listen. Once you step out, listen, the world, listen, you're gonna move mountains and you're going to change the world. So my toast is to those who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs, but they just don't know how to step out yet.
That's awesome.
Love it. And it necessarily won't mean like you're going to go and make millions of dollars, but you're going to make a good impact on yourself and on your mentality that can influence other people, you know? And you wouldn't even know until you reach that point that makes you some comforted, you know? And yeah, it brings joy to you. So
absolutely,
you're not going to know that.
Right.
to find that passion until it's there. So yeah.
Taylor could attest to this. Alan could
Mm-hmm.
attest to this. I could attest to this. Once you step out of your comfort zone and you take that risk on yourself, we've been preaching it here on this podcast. Once you go ahead and do that, you're gonna feel so relieved.
Relieved,
Like that weight that you're talking about is off of your back now.
Yes.
And you're just gonna know what you're gonna have to do because everything's gonna fall into place. Like me and Alan had no idea what the hell we were doing. But as soon as we took the steps to like start doing it, things started to fall into place. And like we catch ourselves, reflecting on that. And we're like, yo, we started from the bottom, we're like legit. And like even though that we're not close to our goals yet, but we can see that path starting to, come together. And that's super
Definitely. I think the funny thing is, here's the funny thing about it though, is that a lot of people think, hey, once I'm not afraid, then I'll do it, then I'll move. But the truth is like, once you do it, then you won't be afraid, because as you move forward, it's like the chains. That's why you feel relieved afterward, because it's like the chains that were holding you back for so long have literally fell off. And so don't wait until you're not afraid anymore to start moving. Like do it while you're afraid, because in your moving, you're going to experience the freedom, to continue and to, be persistent and do whatever it is that, you want to do.
Facts.
Well
Taylor,
well said, Taylor.
Where can our listeners and watchers find you on social media?
You can find me on I have a public Facebook page called TaylorcGrant. My Twitter is TaylorcGrant with an underscore. I have an Instagram. It's all TaylorcGrant. And then I have a YouTube channel, which is TaylorcGrant. So
TaylorcGrant.
Where can they get your book, and can you hold it up for us, please?
Yeah, this is the book. You can get it from Amazon. It is on Amazon now. So it's $15. You can get it straight from Amazon.
Dope.
And then
Do you have an audiobook?
I don't have an audiobook. I do have the ebook.
Okay.
I will be also planning I'll be planning a book signing shortly soon. So if you want to purchase your book there, I'll have more details on that.
Awesome.
Dope.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to get that book for sure. I'm definitely curious to see what messages you bring, because I really love what you bring to the table and what you're doing for people out now. Like, especially after me reading that Charlemagne book, like got me really interested to seeing how, like, from a therapist's point of view, how to approach different situations. Because even within myself, Nick, I think you could attest to this as well. That I got doubts too. I got many doubts on how this podcast is going to be, portrayed to other people, and how it's going to progress. Is it even going to progress? And what I kind of want to do later in my life as well. I'm not there yet, and Nick said that earlier. We're still, not close to our goals, and even though it might seem on camera that we're okay, and I feel good. Like I'm not depressed, but I do have doubts too. And it's normal to have doubts, and it's okay to accept that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Taylor, we appreciate the time you took to interview with us and to be on our podcast. Like, we really appreciate it. We wish you nothing but the best of luck, and to keep fighting the good fight out in the front lines with the people of Southwest Florida, helping them get their mental right, get their spirituality right, and get their focus back to where it needs to be, which is on themselves and their faith. So we appreciate you.
Definitely. And I definitely want to thank you guys for allowing me to be a part of the show. This is just a positive movement. Like, when you guys first started, I was like super hyped, and to see you guys like still going is like awesome, and being persistent and being consistent, not letting, coronavirus stop you from like doing certain things is awesome. So I'm just grateful. Thank you for allowing me to have the opportunity to be on the show and talk with you guys.
That means a lot to us. No, really, we don't take it for granted. We really appreciate that, Taylor. All right.
Definitely.
Episode 15 in the books. You already know.
In the books. It's toast to the Goodfellas. We out.
Peace.